Hey, my name is Ian Jennings, and today I'm going to show you how to get started with EON. EON is a framework for creating real-time dashboards. On the front page here we have an example combining maps and charts. So in the background, flights from San Francisco to and from are being plotted on a map, and we just have some random data being graphed in charts on the sides. EON is totally customizable, so you can change the map tiles, you can change the chart colors, sizes, types, data, all this stuff. And today I'm going to walk through and show you how you can do that. So to get started, we're going to look at some examples. This is an example of a spline chart. A spline is a time series chart. You can see the new points are being animated in, and once they reach a maximum, I believe it's 20 by default, there we go, they'll start to be pushed out. So this way you can graph data, say from an IoT device, a car, speed, measures anything over time. And so this data is actually being sent over the PubNub real-time network. If we inspect this, you can see the data being broadcast here on the bottom. There's also a bar chart, which works in a very similar way. There's a donut chart, which is handy for graphing percentages like a pie chart. There's also a gauge, which is great for showing percentage-based values. As mentioned earlier, EON also supports the ability to create custom maps and plot markers on them. So for example, again, there's the flights in San Francisco in the background here, and there's a few more examples. So here we have a single marker that's kind of going a little crazy around the United States, and basically what we're doing is publishing different latitude and longitude values over PubNub, and the markers representing the transition between those values in an animation. A cool feature is the ability to plot multiple markers. So here we have Austin, Texas. We have 4 markers animating randomly within a radius. And as you can see, we're actually tracking this middle one here and following along wherever it goes. If we apply that idea in context, here we have the buses at Rutgers University being plotted along their correlating routes. If you click on a bus, you can see which route the bus is following. And here we have the same front page demo being rendered without the styling. This shows the diversity of styles you can apply. This actually isn't powered by Google Maps. It's powered by a company called Mapbox, which supports custom stylings and API integration, which allows us to do these interactions, follow markers, things like that. Now I'm going to show you how you can use EON to create your own real-time chart. On the left I have a very simple example HTML page, and on the right there's a preview of that page. If you go to the EON landing page and scroll down, you'll find a quick start guide. All we need to do is copy and paste this into the head of that page. This includes everything you need to get started with EON, including PubNub and the charting libraries. Now we're going to copy and paste this sample chart code, but it needs to be wrapped in a script tag. So there are a couple things to notice here. The first one is the channel. So channel is the PubNub channel that this chart will be looking for data. Limit is a number of data points to show before we start flowing the data off, and you'll notice that happening here. Flow tells the chart to flow the data rather than continually append it. And generate is a C3. C3 is a charting framework that EON is based off of. A C3 configuration object, and the first thing and only thing you'll see here is bind to, and bind to is the DOM element we want to render the chart in. So this says body spline, so we'll just make a div with the ID body spline. And if we reload our example page, you'll see we have a blank chart rendered. Now that we have our blank chart, let's start publishing some data to it. So you'll see it's bound to the channel EON chart. And that means if we go to the PubNub developer console, use the demo keys and subscribe to the same chart, the same channel. If we start to publish data in the same format that you see down here, it'll appear on the chart. And so now, since the data is not changing, the chart will continue to animate at this consistent rate. If we go and change some of the values, you'll see it animate to the new values. So now we're going to create a function to automatically publish data for us. So we can just copy this format here. If you look, you'll see that PubNub is actually defined already for us here. So we can just do something simple like PubNub publish channel EON chart message, the same message as before, and then wrap that in a set interval. As well as add some math random to make things interesting. When we refresh, you'll see now that we're graphing random data in real time. If you inspect this in the console using the PubNub Chrome extension, you'll see this data being graphed. And so this is actually going over the wire. It's being published to the PubNub data stream network and then rendered here when it's updated. So we can move this line of code anywhere. In fact, let's try that. Make a new file, and we'll call it pubnub.html. And we'll just make a really quick document. And all it's going to do is publish that, and we're also going to include the PubNub JavaScript library. Put that right there. Now we're going to open that file. You can see that with the PubNub console that this is now publishing that data again. This is the same data from the first example. So this window is publishing the data, and this window is subscribing. Now, if we open two instances of this window, you'll notice that it's not coming twice as fast. So what's happening is whichever one of these is publishing later is actually overwriting the original value, and this helps with distributed systems. And what I mean by that is if we duplicate this, if we remove the last 2 data points yet, we remove the first 3 on the other example, so now together they're complete. And we open both of those examples. At the same time, notice we have the same chart again. So this one started a second later, but the data is being compiled every tick. So you can imagine having multiple IoT devices all publishing to the same chart. In addition, we can compile the data into 2 different charts from the same source. So if we wanted to graph this also as a bar chart, we can go in here and copy this setup here. We're going to subscribe to the same channel. But we're going to use body bar instead of body spline in this example. And we don't need any of this stuff. You'll see that we're publishing data from 2 different sources and also graphing it in 2 different places. And again, to emphasize this, let's cut off one of the data sources. And so we killed these 3 data points here. And you'll notice on the bar chart, they stop moving as well. If we bring it back, see they start animating again. And let's kill the other ones. So notice the purple and red have stopped moving as well. Now I'm going to show you how you can use the EON framework to create your own real-time map. So the first thing is if we scroll down, you'll see the quick start. We're just going to copy and paste those tags into the head of a document. Here's a preview of what that document looks like right now. And we're going to scroll down to the real-time map example and copy the example code. Wrap it in a script tag. And also see the Mapbox token and Mapbox ID fields. So we're going to need a Mapbox API key, and you can get that from mapbox.com. And you'll see your default API access token at the top. If you just click the little clipboard icon, you'll copy it, paste it in there. You can get your ID by making a sample project. I already have one configured here. It's also important that your map needs a height, or else the Mapbox won't render anything. So we're just going to give it a height of 100%. Oh, about 300 pixels. And there's our map. The PubNub office is located here. Okay, now to graph some markers with PubNub. We're going to copy this code and put it right below the map. Oh, there it is. So now we can see our marker animating along the North Atlantic Ocean. And if we look at the source of the multiple markers example, you'll see that we can just create an array . Just like the chart example, this doesn't have to be on the same page. And you'll see we don't have any markers here. Until we open up that page. And now the markers appear.